I went into it like being completely terrified.
Yeah, we were driving up and I was totally like excited about it and like ready. And Mel was feeling a little nervous.
I was like, oh my god, I don't want to be with myself for 3 days. I also noticed that like I very often judge myself for other people. You're not judging me, like I think you're judging me, and I therefore I put my judgment through you back onto me.
But it took this experience where you just literally 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days of just focusing inward, and then you're able to tell yourself what you've been needing to hear.
Right.
I've kind of thought of myself as like I'm an anxious person, and like let that be okay. But being at the silent retreat was almost a step beyond that, where I was able to be like, I'm not an anxious person. I'm just a person who's highly sensitive to all of these external things coming in, because I wasn't anxious in that setting.
I fell in love with myself, which was really special and something that I didn't feel like I was or had before. One thing I was like super terrified about was like eating by myself and like not having any distractions when I was eating. I think I've been terrified about and I haven't wanted to do, because I think it's gonna be scary, but actually it was like the most beneficial thing to me.
For me, just to recognize how much can happen in just 3 days, and how restorative 3 days in silence can be.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm back and I have my amazing friend Mel with me today, and I wanted to sit down and just have a conversation and share our experience at the silent retreat. So I wrote a blog post accompanying this, but the blog post really just covers my experience. But even though we were at the same place doing, having the same experience, it was a completely different experience for us. Like,
totally.
We both had our own experiences, which makes sense because we were really connecting inward and living just with ourselves. But I thought Mel's experience was really valuable as well, so I wanted to have her share her story too. We went to a place called Silent Stay Retreat Center, and it was in Vacaville, California, which is like a little over an hour north of San Francisco. And it was this gorgeous location. It was amazing.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it was like just in the middle of nature, and it was lovely. But so when I originally, for 2018, was thinking about what I wanted to do and was setting some intentions, one of the things that I've been thinking about doing for a while is a silent retreat. And originally I was thinking I would do a Vipassana, which is this really intense 10-day silent retreat where you're just meditating all day long, and you're not allowed to read or write or go for walks, and it's very regimented.
It's very intense.
Yeah, it's super intense. And I was really thinking that I wanted to do that. But then after talking to some friends who have done it and who had they struggled with it, and I've talked to a lot of people who had just the most amazing transformative experiences, so that's what really drew me to it initially. But I talked to some friends who had done shorter retreats and found those to be really beneficial and profound as well. So, and I talked to some people, like I said, who really struggled, especially if they have a history of anxiety or depression. And I deal with anxiety, so it, for me, it just felt like, maybe we'll start small.
Yeah.
And Mel was really supportive in that way, in recommending, just start small, and we can always go bigger later.
Yeah, I'm very happy we started small.
Yeah. So anyways, I was looking into different silent retreat centers, and I found this one, and I told Mel about it, and she jumped in, which was amazing. I'm so glad that we got to share the experience together. But yeah, so that's the background on that, and we did a 3-day retreat. So at this retreat center, it's completely do it yourself. You choose how long you want to stay there, and we thought 3 days was a good starting point. So we started there, and it felt like a really perfect amount of time. I think I could have done a day or two longer, but the 3 days in itself was really powerful alone, and that was awesome for me, just to recognize how much can happen in just 3 days, and how restorative 3 days in silence can be.
Yeah, it was so restorative.
Yeah.
I went into it being completely terrified.
Yeah, we were driving up, and I was totally excited about it and ready, and Mel was feeling a little nervous.
I was like, oh my god, I don't want to be with myself for 3 days. that's gonna be traumatic and really hard, because I just, you know, the voice inside my head that tells me all these things about myself, about other people, was just like gonna be like the main thing, and like I would just hear it so clearly, and that was terrifying for me.
Yeah.
But
It
things
ended up being
changed.
amazing.
Yeah,
right?
it ended up being so amazing, and like I fell in love with myself, which was really special, and something that I didn't feel like I was or had before. So
It was so fun on the third day to like sit down together and like talk for the first time since we had been there the whole time, because we weren't really interacting while we were there. We were just doing our own thing.
right.
But it was so beautiful when we were done to sit down and hear the different insights that we'd each had. And as someone who sees Mel as incredibly beautiful and amazing, it was really awesome to hear that she was seeing that for herself too.
Thanks.
But yeah, it was actually, I wasn't really expecting it to be like a calming, relaxing experience.
Yeah.
Like I really was expecting it to be like kind of difficult in ways, and like making me have these like profound insights, and like I don't know, like I did in certain ways, but it was actually kind of surprising to me just how relaxed and at ease and at peace I felt.
Yeah.
And for me that was really powerful, because even though I have done a lot of inner work and I feel very comfortable with myself, it was just so beautiful to be like, I just spent 3 days hanging out with myself, and I was totally content with that.
Yeah. It was so good.
Right, like I wasn't like just like urging to be around people or like to have these external influences. Like it was really, I was totally happy to just like get up and do my own yoga and go for a walk and make food and eat and sit and journal. Literally just sit and watch the fireplace. One rainy morning I just sat for like half an hour by the fireplace, and that was totally like, I was great. I was very happy doing that.
Right. I felt the same way. Like it was, I enjoyed being with myself and like learning things about myself, and I didn't feel like I was missing out on things, or like that I needed to like get back to work, or like get on social media, or like what are my friends doing, or like who's doing this. Like it was very much like nothing else mattered, which was so amazing. It was just like time to work on yourself and time to focus on you and what you want and who you want to be and what kind of things are important. One thing that I like realized while on the silent retreat was how much I don't value my own opinion, and I allow other people to like make decisions for me. So just like in the most simple thing, like preferences on things, or like what I want to eat, or where I want to go, or like how long do I want it, whatever the question is, I always ask the other person and want them to make the decision. Even if I have an opinion, I almost always allow others to dictate what I do or feel or want, and that was something that was really interesting to like be able to understand and process, and be able to know it's something I'm going to work on in the future. I also noticed that like I very often judge myself for other people. So like even though so like even though like you're not judging me, like I think you're judging me, and I therefore like I like put my judgment through you back onto me.
It's so funny how we do that.
Right.
Like we act as though it's coming from the other person, but really it's us putting our thoughts into the other person's mind. And like acting as, you know, saying like, oh, like I will be judged, like people will think this about me, and it's like, no, like that's us.
Right.
That's us thinking that about ourselves.
Yeah, and I so often do that, and then I shut down. Like I've been in social situations where like I think everyone's judging me because of the way like I'm putting my judgment into them, into me, and then I just like completely shut down because I feel like defeated, even though like no one's feeling those things. It's just me. But it was nice to be able to like put those realizations into like words, I guess, so that there's something I could work on in the future.
Yeah.
Or not, like, after, all the time. Work on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, seriously, it's so amazing the way that all of these things, all of these insights, all of these truths, all of this knowledge was living in us.
Right.
But it just took that time to take the space and listen to ourselves in order for us to tell ourselves these things. Like, you have known in your heart that you don't want to be living but through your own judgment and like filtering your life based on like what you think other people are going to think of you.
Yeah.
But it took this experience where you just literally 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days of just focusing inward. And then you're able to tell yourself what you've been needing to hear.
Right. Yeah.
It was amazing.
So special.
Something that was interesting for me that I realized was I like don't ever exist without this looming to-do list, or like just the thought of like, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
Like, what is the next thing I need to do today or tomorrow or whenever? And so I would be like in the middle of doing some yoga and have the thought like, okay, I should probably wrap up soon, and then I'm gonna go like, you know, go downstairs and make some breakfast or whatever. And then it was just like, wait, am I hungry? Do I need to stop? Like,
Yeah.
no, I can wait another half hour to eat. Like, I'm gonna do some more yoga. Or like, I would be out for a walk and be like, I should turn back soon. Like, and then it was just like, no, Tara, why? Like, you don't actually, there's nothing that I need to do today.
Right.
And it was helpful for me to realize, like, as much as I do try to be present, I feel like I'm present, but I do have this like looming to-do list in my mind. So it was really helpful for me to recognize that. And since coming back even, I've tried to like think less about like this, having that next thing in my mind, and just really like embracing like, what am I doing right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I so enjoyed like having time not be anything when we were there. Like, we had 2 group meditations that were at 9 in the morning and 7 p.m. and that was basically like the only thing that like time mattered. Like, we were like gonna be there for that, but the rest of the day, like, I was like doing yoga and I was like, now what am I gonna do? And I was like, I'm just gonna stretch this part of my body now, and then I will do this one, and then I'll do that one, and like, it was like, I have nothing else to do.
Right, we're always so rushed.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to slow down. And
Right.
it's funny, the more that we slowed down, I felt like the day was extra long. Like, at the end of the day, I was like, wow, I did so much today. Like, this day was so full and so long.
Yeah.
And we were like sleeping more than usual.
It was
and
like 10 hours a day. We'd eat dinner at like 5 and we went to bed at like 9 o'clock. It was amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I took some naps too. It was so good.
Yeah. It was really awesome.
Yeah. One thing I was like super terrified about was like eating by myself and like not having any distractions when I was eating. But it was interesting and amazing that I was able to find that like, actually, if I eat with no distractions, it's much better for like me to stop when I'm full, or not like totally binge out on food. And that was something that was really nice. Like, just to be very present with my food was something I think I've been terrified about, like, and I haven't wanted to do because I think it's gonna be scary, but actually it was like the most beneficial thing to me. So it was so nice to feel comfortable around food, and I've taken that back. Like, some days, like back home, I mean, not every day is perfect, and it's hard to like bring in all these like things that we learned about ourselves into every single day and every moment, but it's definitely very much impacted me, and it is playing more of a role in like how I go about and doing things. And like, meditation was so amazing. Like, Tara's like the first person that ever meditated with me, and she's like the reason like I'm in meditation. Like, I do meditation, and
guys, it was really fun. Like, the first time that I, like literally the first weekend that I ever met Mel, we went on a run together, and halfway through the run she was like asking me meditation questions, and I was like, you know, do you want to just take a break and like do a meditation right now? And we did one together.
Yeah.
And like, that was her first time, and so
Yeah.
that's really special that now she's created her own meditation practice.
Yeah, and I mean, you like posting on like Instagram and Insta stories, like it inspires me and motivates me to do it every day, which I'm sure it motivates a ton of other people. But it was so beautiful to like meditate so much and so often, and like not be terrified of like setting a clock or something, you know, like it was so nice in the group meditation how I have no idea how long we meditated for, and I usually only meditate for like 15 minutes, so, and like doing 30 minutes on my phone would be like, oh my god, but I'm sure we did over 30 minutes, and it just felt so beautiful and easy, and
yeah, that was something that like that sat with me as well, is just a lot of the time, as much as I do make meditation a daily practice, that doesn't mean it's easy. Like when I sit down and do it, yeah, it is scary to be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do 20 minutes or I'm gonna do 30 minutes today. Like that feels like a lot. And it doesn't just like, it's not like I sit there and I'm just like, okay, here I am in this calm presence. Like it takes a long time to get into that. But at the retreat center, because we were so calm and not having all of the clutter of all these like external energy and external like media and messaging and just like, I don't know, we have an onslaught of external like energy and messaging and stuff all day long that we're consuming all these like external messages and sources and things, and just being away from all of that and being calm and present, it made it so much easier to meditate. And I experienced like an all-time low of anxiety, like things that normally would throw me for a loop, I was able to just totally like let go, and it was so easy breezy, beautiful, amazing, like. And so that's something that reminded me just how important all of these self-care practices are, because something that I realized is that, I don't know, I've kind of, over the past couple of years, as I've realized how much anxiety comes on for me, like, I've kind of thought of myself as like, I'm an anxious person, and like, let that be okay. But being at the silent retreat was almost a step beyond that, where I was able to be like, I'm not an anxious person. I'm just a person who's highly sensitive to all of these external things coming in, because I wasn't anxious in that setting. And that was a really big insight for me. And yeah, so kind of what I want to move on to next is like that reintegration process. And like once we've come back, what changes we've made. Because after having all these different insights, like, it has been, like we wanted to bring them back with us. You don't just want to have an experience and then go back to your regular life. Like you want, the big thing that you want to do is come back and say like, how can I take these lessons and bring them into my life and let them serve me moving forward. So, do you have anything you want to start with?
One thing that the lady Ruth, who ran the retreat center with her husband, she did a guided meditation with each of us, and she had us like answer these questions while we were meditating, and so I kind of like put it together as my mantra, and so that's one thing I brought back with me. So like when I meditate, when I go on runs, when I'm just like slightly freaking out and I need to bring myself down, I've been saying that mantra, which has been very helpful for that. So that's been something I've been bringing back. Because sometimes when I meditate, like it's hard to like focus on just my breath, and so saying the mantra helps me, you know, be at ease and work my way through meditation. I have also started doing some night meditations. So before I go to sleep, I meditate. I haven't done it every night, and I know it would be way beneficial for me to do it every night, and that's something I want to be more consistent with. But so the evening meditation is something that I've really been enjoying bringing in.
Yeah, that's something that I've been doing too. For the past 2 years or so, I've been really good about the morning meditations, but I'm surprised that I haven't brought evening meditations in, because falling asleep is not something that comes easily for me, and I have all these different things that I have in my evening routine, like journaling and things like that, but you know, turning the lights low and whatever. But anyways, I also have been doing the evening meditations, and I have only been doing about 10 minutes before bed, and I would say I'm like, neither of us are perfect. We're working on it. We're all a work in progress. But I've done it probably like 80% of the night since we've been back. Like I have been pretty good about it. But I usually only do 10 minutes. Sometimes I do 15, but I haven't done more than 15.
Yeah. Sometimes when you like set it too high, you're like, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So it's good to start small too.
Right. And for me, that's also just because like I like now it's like I've added meditation to like, you know, I journal and I read, and so it's just like it creates a little more time, and I don't want it to feel like you were saying. I don't want it to feel like so much that I end up not doing it at all. Yeah. So sometimes setting those smaller goals helps you to do it and make it easy and attainable.
Right.
But I also have extended my morning meditations. So I used to do 20 minutes max in the morning, and honestly before the retreat I was starting to like slide back. Like I was starting to do like, oh, like I'm so busy this morning, I'll just do like 10 minutes.
Right.
So it's been really good. Again, it's not every day, but a lot of the time now I do sit down for 30 minutes, and
that's amazing.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Like the difference between how I feel after 15 minutes of meditation versus how I feel after 30 minutes of meditation is really incredible. And I mean, if anyone listening to this is new to meditation, don't feel like I'm saying like you need to start with 30 minutes.
Right.
Like
don't do that.
Please don't. Start with like 5. Like start with whatever feels approachable to you and feels like you can do it. But just, it's been interesting for me to realize that the longer that I meditate, the more it feels like I could go longer. Like when the 30 minutes is up, some days I'm like, I could have done like 10 more minutes. Whereas like when 10 minutes is up, I'm just like, thank goodness. I glad to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've also added yoga to my morning routine. And I don't do that every day. I probably do that like 3 days a week, sometimes 4. But that was another thing that I had been wanting to do forever, and then at the retreat I did it every day, sometimes twice a day, and my body feels so good when I give it a stretch, and I just so I've been doing that and really loving it. And again, like it's half an hour, and that can feel like, oh, I don't have half an hour, but honestly, I'll talk more about some other changes I've made, but like I don't feel like I'm getting any less done in the day. We waste so much time.
Right.
So just getting away from these practices that were more mindless and including more of the mindful restorative practices was really, it was totally doable.
Yeah. Another thing I realized at the retreat is how much I feel like I'm surrounded by mirrors. And we have been going to base camp, and I love base camp and it's really fun. However, like the whole place is lined with mirrors, and I was finding myself like looking at myself when I was having a hard day and just beating myself up like inside my head, and it was really hard. And so I'd be like working out, but I would be like working out my body and like also working out my mind in like a terrible way. It was really bad. So I decided to put my base camp membership on hold, and I've been running a lot and just being outside and doing yoga too. So that's something I like implemented right when I got home. I was just like, I need to just focus on like more of my mental state. And even though base camp is fun and I enjoy the workouts and I enjoy going with you and Robbie, it's like it was something I felt like I really needed to do for myself, and I've been so enjoying it. Like I've missed running so much. So
yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and that's something that I think there's a really powerful lesson there, because when we notice that something is not benefiting us, that, you know, like for Mel, like going to the gym and seeing all those mirrors was putting her through just like this emotional turmoil in her brain. And like, yes, that can be a point where you can recognize, okay, this is happening and I need to work on my mental state, but that doesn't mean that you just keep going to the gym and just try to change your mental state.
Right.
Like, it's really helpful to draw that line for yourself and just be like, you know, I'm gonna do that internal work, but in the meantime, this is not healthy for me. This is not helpful. This is not supporting my growth. And, you know, so I'm so glad that you took that step. And I think that's really important. You know, if you recognize, like there have been times where I've realized, like, you know, I need to, whether it's like not looking in mirrors as often, or I need to unfollow certain people on Instagram because like looking at certain photos just was not healthy for me, and my mind was not going to good places. So, you know, it's okay to draw those lines and create those boundaries for yourself, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. What else did you start implementing?
Something else that I started implementing is taking time at the beginning and the end of the day where my phone is off. And that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. It's like, I feel like there are certain things that other people have told me or that I've thought about that like I want to do, or like that ultimately I know. Like I know that I prefer to have some more space and some disconnection and stuff. But it wasn't until I actually experienced it at the retreat that I was able to implement it.
Yeah.
So, you know, with you, like, you know, with all of the like the self-love stuff, it's like, it's not like you haven't read books about that or we've had conversations or whatever. Like, you know those things.
Right.
But it was being at the retreat and just like experiencing and feeling it and really being present with those things is what enables you to actually like put it into action.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like all the books and all the things I read and heard and had people tell me, like nothing sank in until I went on the silent retreat and like was able to hear it for myself. So
yeah. But yeah, so I have started like in the morning when I get up, I'll do my meditation or I'll go for a run, or, you know, if I do yoga that day, do yoga or whatever. And so it can be like 2 hours a lot of the time between when I wake up and when I turn on my phone. I've been doing the same thing in the evenings as well, and around like 8 p.m. I'll turn my phone off, and I usually go to bed around 10. So it ends up being like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. And the world has not ended, all of my friends understand, like, and just giving myself that, again, that space, that disconnection. We live in a world where we're so connected all the time. We have so much external messaging. And whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, we all are a balance of both. And so having that time of recharge where, like, you know, you're not inundated with all of those messages, and you're not, you know, feeling like you have to be checking things or like you have to answer messages or whatever, I think is really important, and for me has been helpful and awesome.
Yeah, I've been doing the same thing, turning my phone on like a lot later in the day. Before I used to like turn my phone on right when I woke up and like scroll. Like what?
Right, like lay in bed and like let that wake you up. That's like the worst thing.
I know, and it's like none of this stuff, like of course like it's great to like see what your friends are doing on social media, but like none of that is like bringing me like what I need in the morning. Like that's not bringing me like into the day and like consuming so much.
Right. It like starts the day almost like tense and like I don't know, it's like you want to start like easing into your day.
Right, exactly. I've brought in more like eating by myself and without distractions. What's also been nice is me and my roommate have been eating together, and then we've been having dinner as well, and it's just so much nicer. And I've noticed I actually a couple times I have eaten while like watching TV or like watching YouTube or watching something, and I just like after it I was just like, why did I do that to myself? Like I mean, sometimes you need to like slip up a little bit so you can get that reminder, and I'm not perfect obviously, but it's just so much better when I like am not distracting myself in terms of like computers and my phone. So I've been bringing that in, but it's been hit or miss, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing, like I haven't experienced, I didn't go in with some of the same like issues around like eating and like feeling the tension and certain like stressors the way that you did, but even so, like sitting down, I literally never just eat. Like I'm always on my computer, and if I'm not on my computer, I mean, I have dinners with friends, and like I don't sit on my computer while I'm having dinners with friends. But even that, it's like I'm engaged in the conversation, and I mean that's definitely like way better. And I have been trying to do that. Like, you know, when I'm sitting down to eat, I'll like, you know, ask my roommate like, are you about to have dinner? Like, do you want to sit down and have a meal together? And you know, or like just one meal a day, like just sitting and eating and being present with it. Have I done that every day? No, honestly, that's probably the thing I have done the least. Like, that's probably the thing that I've done the worst about since getting back. But it really was awesome at the retreat to just be there and sit in there and, like, it's so funny. I really thought that I would, like, be bored if I was just eating. Right. But it's like, eating is such a beautiful process. You're, like, nourishing yourself, and the food tastes so good. It's like, why would you want to not be present with the food if you made food that tastes amazing? Yeah.
like focusing on like every bite that you're putting in your mouth.
Yeah, it's like I want to enjoy every bite.
Yeah, when you're distracted, it's just like shovels in there. And
Right,
you don't
then you
even
look
know the
over and you're like,
process.
oh man, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I'm going to continue to work on.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have, it was nice that we did it together because we could talk about things and
Yeah.
we had, you know, different but similar experiences, and we can talk together about like what we're integrating and what we're doing and, you know, support each other in those things.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Something else that I didn't mention earlier, but that just was insightful and powerful for me was before going on this retreat, I really was feeling like uninspired creatively. And when I was there, it was like the first day was really like, you know, just me with myself, and it was like, you know, just me doing my thing, getting restored, you know, finding peace and all that stuff. And then on the second day that we were there, it was just like I was hit with this creativity, and I was writing, and I wrote some poetry, which I haven't done in so long, but was so nice to do. And I like thought of all these different ideas for like blog posts and videos, and like that's why I've been so on top of newsletters and blog posts and things lately. And I really did come back feeling restored with new creative energy. And like it's just crazy that 3 days. I
know.
I went to Hawaii for 10 days a month prior to this experience, and 10 days in Hawaii was like 10 times less restorative than 3 days in silence.
Yeah.
Like, it really is powerful, and it doesn't take that long, it doesn't take a lot of money, it's not hard, it's just something that's so easy and approachable. And I mean, it's not just the silence, like just not talking to people isn't part of it. Like if we were in our, you know, still in our apartments and doing our daily activity and like still, I mean, yeah, it's like the silence is a really important key part, but it's not just the act of not talking. It's the act of listening to yourself. And for me, I mean, I think for both of us, but like some of it for me was just really powerful. Just like not taking in things. Like I didn't read, I didn't like watch anything, I wasn't communicating with anyone, I wasn't like on using any devices. It's really just like you with yourself, with your thoughts, with your feelings, like focusing completely inward, not really taking in or looking externally. But you know, taking that space with that intention is so healing and so powerful and so restorative, and it doesn't take that long.
We're gonna do it again for sure.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I feel like I want to do this like every 6 months. It probably would be beneficial to do it like even more often, like every 3 months or like, you know, whatever. But just like it's something that was so powerful that I definitely want to do again, and that I also do want to explore doing longer periods of time. And I also know that, you know, this was not anything, just to like put a clarification out there, like I know a lot of people who have done like the full out Vipassana and had amazing experiences. So this is not to say like don't go do a Vipassana if you feel called to do that. This is just saying like this is what I did and it was really powerful and amazing for me. And if a Vipassana feels overwhelming and scary to you and you don't feel ready to do something, you know, on the further toward extreme side of it, like start small and you can still have a really incredible experience.
Right, and then you can just move on to the next. If you want to do Vipassana, you could do it next, and you'll be more prepared. So
yeah, there's part of me that still thinks I want to do that someday. But for now, like this was amazing. And Silent Stay, like the place where we stayed, was just especially great because I mean, if you want structure, if you feel like you really want to let go and have someone else like plan out your day and your meals and, you know, have a more structured day, like there are definitely retreats that can do that, that are shorter retreats, like 3 days and 5 days and things like that. But the place where we went was very unstructured. Like Mel said, there was the morning and the evening meditation to kind of open and close the day. And other than that, it was totally up to us. And so we were kind of on our own to go for walks or do yoga or sit and journal, make our own food. They have an open kitchen. You make your own food. So that was awesome for us. And like it's totally up to you and what works for you, but for us this was perfect. This was really perfect.
It's also important to know that you don't have to go with someone
Oh
to a
yeah.
silent retreat, like, or to any retreat like this. Like, we happened to go together, but it would have been super beneficial if I would have gone by myself, or if Tara would have gone by myself. So don't think like you need to find a partner to go with.
Right, because we basically didn't
Right.
spend time together.
Yeah,
Like,
we didn't
there
even
was-
like try to communicate.
No, we weren't like gesturing to each
Yeah.
other or like writing things down to each other or anything. Like,
Yeah.
we really did had a separate experience. There was one evening where Mel was having dinner outside, and I like came over and sat next to her and had dinner. But like, again, I was still in my own world. It's not like
Right.
we were like connecting and like trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Like, we really were having our own experience completely.
Yeah.
So
I'm so glad we did it together, though.
it was special to share it and know that we were both having such a beautiful experience separately.
Mhm.
I hope that was helpful for anyone who watches this. I hope that if you've been interested or thinking about it, that this gives you a sense of what it was like to do a 3-day retreat at this center. I will link the center below if you're interested in going to that one in particular. There's tons, but this one was really special and I would totally recommend it. And if you have any questions for Mel or I, please leave them in the comments. But I hope this was helpful. I hope that maybe it inspired you to value, turning inward and just spending some time with yourself, giving yourself some space and silence to just listen and reconnect.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thanks for watching, guys.